My full name, Minnie Frances Waters Hawk.
Okay. Uh, what tribal nations are you a citizen of?
On my mother's side, I'm Quapaw and Osage. On my father's side, I'm Ponca and Oto, Missouri.
And okay, you said your mother's side you have the Quapaw ancestry. On your mother's side, you have Quapaw ancestry.
My mother is Quapaw.
Okay. Can you tell us about your mother? What you remember?
You'd have to speak up.
What do you remember about your mother?
What I remember about who?
Your mother.
Got a lot of memories about my mother. I remember her always. Everything she did was a lesson with us. You know, whether you learned your lesson for doing something bad or you're doing something good, but she was always teaching us in one way or another. It was always a lesson with her. And so I remember about it. Even on a walk, we weren't walking just to enjoy ourselves. We were walking because she was telling us stories, you know, making the walk enjoyable and everything. She liked to dance. She liked to sing. She loved to cook. I mean, she could whip up a meal out of almost anything. But she was a hard teacher. She was a very hard teacher. If she told you something, she meant for you to remember it. That was her way of knowing that you were listening at her. She may ask you a month later, remind you, we were walking, where were we walking when we went down the hill or across down to the river or whatever. See, I grew up right over there by the river. And if I didn't remember, or at least the major gist of that conversation, I was in trouble. Because to her, that meant I was listening. She was that way with me. She was that way with my older sister. My brother got away with everything. He didn't have to listen to anything. But I love my mama. I remember, you know, I've got some really sad, bad memories, but I choose to never recall those, you know, just, they're private to me. But those are memories I'm willing to share about my mother. She was a hard teacher, but she loved us dearly. She was good.
You said she loved cook. What was a meal that stands out that your mother used to make?
Huh?
What was a meal that stood out that your mother used to make?
A meal?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, and it'll always be my favorite. She would cook beans, and she'd never cook them inside. My dad would build a fire outside, no matter where we lived in town or even in Chicago. He would go out and build a little fire out on the back porch, you know, out of beans and fry bread and fried potatoes. That was my favorite meal. It's still my favorite meal. I'm hoping whenever I pass on, that will be my last meal. Because she could cook those beans like, I don't know how she did it, but she did it. And they could, within half the time normally everybody takes, but she could do it. My brother, I'd tell Mom we want beans. He said, okay. That was my favorite meal. It's the one she always, you know, she could cook everything. But that was my favorite.
Do you remember how old you were the first powwow that you attended?
How old I was? I was probably here before I can remember it, but when I was born, they had the powwow up on the hill by the Supernova property. I remember I was about 3 or 4, and my Osage relatives on my mother's side, they came and they would camp out in our yard. We had a huge yard, and I remember that because that was the first year that they dressed me in Osage clothes, and I was 3 or 4. So I probably was 4, and that was my first memory of the powwow. And I got my first set of turtle shells for the stomp dance that same year. So.
And your first true memory of the powwow, explain it like if somebody had never gone to a powwow. What do you remember about the smell, the sounds? What stood out to you about that powwow?
Food?
Food or the sounds, the smell.
If you were going to explain the powwow to someone, how would you explain it?
For me, it was always the drum, because before the actual dancing started, back in the days before everything was so, people are so lazy, they would already be out there at the center in the drum, and I can remember them singing out there. And they would just sing before they actually started dancing, and they didn't have parade in then. That was a commercial thing. But I remember that. And what I remember about this powwow, the sound from that powwow, was the sound of those lacrosse sticks. They came from up north. I'm wanting to say from Montana. But this entire field out here was filled with teepees, and it was visitors. And my first powwow that I can remember, we came and sat and watched them, and they played lacrosse out there in that field. That sound, when I remember the powwow, that's the first sound I hear, that along with the drums. Because they're either singing at different camps or they're singing out there. That's my first thoughts of the powwow.
Do you remember the first time that you danced? What did that mean to you? Do you still have those memories from when you were dancing at a really early age? When you began dancing, can you tell us about?
When did I begin dancing? I began dancing when they dressed me, whether I wanted to dance or not. They dressed me, I was going to be in them. But I've always enjoyed it. I mean, I grew up, my dad sang all the time. He would sing for my mother, he'd sing for us kids. He would sing while he was working on the car, he'd sing while he was mowing. He sang all those songs, they were all tribal songs.
Do you want her to take her glasses off?
Yeah. Minnie, can you take your glasses off? Do you think that's going to be too hard on you? It's too hard?
Okay, then I'm not going to be able to hear you. Go ahead.
Just keep going. Keep explaining what it meant to dance. You talked about your father singing all those songs.
He sang. That's how we learned to sing. That's how we learned our songs. Because sometimes he'd stop and he'd explain the song to us and tell us what it meant. And I'll tell you what, about 90 out of 100 people have no idea what they're singing when they're singing, or what the song means. All of that's gone. Very few families or tribes are retaining that. That goes back to culture. That should be understood too. There's protocol for everything, even to singing. But my dad sang all the time. In the evening, he would go and build a fire out, and that's because of the mosquitoes. We lived on the river, but he would go and build a fire out, and he would sit, and sometimes he'd whittle or whatever, but we'd just sit, and he'd sing to us. He'd just sing, and we'd play around, but all the time he was singing to us. And sometimes he'd say, come sit, sing with me. That's how we learned. We knew it was singing.
And how did that, so you said your father singing kind of brought you into dancing. What does that mean to you to be one of the few?
What it means to me, those are stories. They're not just songs, just to enjoy, to dance to. They're stories. Each song has a story. It's got words and meanings. That's what I hear when I hear the songs. I hear the stories. Of course, I like to dance too. Yeah, that's the way I feel about song.
So the dancing part, though, what does it feel like to be out in that arena dancing? What does that feel like to you? What is it?
No, that's really hard to just describe it. It's a healing in your soul. Just like I got sick a couple of years ago, and it took me down. You know, I used to be pretty heavy and lively. After I started recovering, I couldn't walk. I was on a cane, then a walker, but before that, my kids would have to lift me and, you know, take me to shower and whatever, you know. And I was always taught that song. There are certain songs that are healing songs. So I asked my children to take me back to my father's people. And we did, and I called them, told them I was coming, told them what I wanted. I wanted to be in that arena. And among my father's people, they have a set of songs. They're called wolf dance songs, and they're healing songs. And women dance this. It's just like the jingle dress dance. Our people have that wolf dance song. My father's people do. And that's what I asked for. My kids, my boys, even though women were dancing it, my boys danced with me. They got on either side, Joey and his other brother. The other brother got behind me because I couldn't stand on my own. And they held me up and took me through that arena. They sang 16 songs. By the time they were done, I walked out of that arena on my own from those songs. That's I believe in them. I believe in the stories. I believe that medicine. So when I did, I made that promise to God, and I made that promise to that drum, that as long as I could walk, I would dress and I would dance. Maybe I could only do one round, maybe half a round, but I'd dance as much as I could, and I would dance for those who couldn't dance. And I would dance for those who are coming and going. I dance for the women, especially, because they're the backbone of our people. Without women, you know, our tribe can't endure. It doesn't go on. Women that don't have children, you're not going to continue. That's what song is for me. That's what it means. It has a meaning. Those songs had meaning. And I felt it when I got in that arena. When I get out here, I can stand. Maybe I have to hold on to something, but it's just a feeling that it's hard to describe. It's just like you've been away for so long, and you've been lonely, and you missed your family, and you're there. You finally get there, and you got that feeling, I'm home. I'm home. Everything's going to be good. Here's my people. That's kind of the only way I can describe that feeling of what I feel when I'm dancing and when I get out there. And also I enjoy seeing my little ones and seeing my grandchildren and my daughters sharing that with me. That's healing. It's the coming together to dance song.
You talked about the stories in all the songs, are there any Quapaw stories that stand out to you? We've heard, for instance, like the Stick People story or the Little Boy Hunter story. Is there any Quapaw stories that maybe your mom or dad told you that still stand out to you to this day?
Meaning like, kind of like, almost like the ghost stories?
Yeah, anything like that.
Oh, there are hundreds of them. And as I was saying, my mother would tell us every time she told us a story, it had a reason to it. And it's like, there's this one about, see, from the leaving animals alone and their nest and what have you. And there's one about like a snake. And it's kind of long, but in short, it was a young couple, and it's back. They camped on the riverbanks. They had just been married. She wanted to impress her husband. He was off hunting, so she wanted to look for wild vegetables and, complete a meal. She knew he was going to bring meat home. So, like I said, they had their little camp, and he told her, don't venture too far, This is a new campsite for us, and so don't venture too far. I don't know what animals or what's what, So she started wandering around, looking for vegetables. She came up on this little mound of dirt that she could see there were eggs in it. So she dug the eggs out and came back, and her husband, she fixed a meal for her husband and I. He brought the what he had at the hunt, and she found these wild greens and fixed these eggs, and he enjoyed the meal. After she cleaned up and they were sitting around the fire, he asked her where she got the eggs. And she said, "Oh, I found them." And he assumed, I don't know why he assumed, he just took her word for it. And that night, she started feeling bad. And she said, "I have to go." And he said, thought she meant she needed to go relieve herself. So she got up and she left, and she never came back to his camp. Well, he woke up and she wasn't there, so he went to look for her, and he didn't find her. And that evening, he was sitting by the fire. He didn't go hunt or anything. He just sat and waited. And she came back to him, but she stood behind him, and she told him, he heard her voice. She said, "Don't turn around. And if you turn around, I have to leave." And he started to turn. She said, "No, don't." So he listened. She said, "I should have listened when you told me. Don't wonder and just get the vegetables. Don't bother anything." He said, she said, "I have to pay the price for what I did. I disturbed something that wasn't mine to disturb." And she touched him on the cheek, and he said it felt kind of scaly. The touch, it was cold and scaly, slimy like. So he went like that, and he turned. When he turned, she slithered. She had become a snake. So there's like a moral to that. This type of stories our mother told us. She had to go, that the snake came for her, and she had to go and replace those babies with herself. So the story in that is, leave things alone that don't belong to you, and do what you're told. When you're told to stay here and go so far, you do that. That was a story in that. It's a learning story, scary story, but still a learning story. All of our stories in Quapaw, it has a reason why there's a story. It's like the little people. A long time ago, I don't know, and my mother said she didn't know whether it occurred down in Louisiana or where. She said it was before we went to Arkansas. She said, but our tribe started having babies that were just little, not normal sized children, and they didn't get big. They were all just little small, and just kept getting that way and getting that way, and they couldn't understand why. And it come to see what it was, and they were inbreeding. The brother and sister, mother and father, son with daughter, these children were being born, but the families was keeping it quiet. So all of these babies that were coming from that were getting. So she said the way she heard it was all the chiefs, and they were women, got together, and they took these babies, all these little ones, and they took them into the water, and they left them. Drowned, what, I don't know. She just said she was told they left them. They said some of them hid their children. They left and they hid their children. So she said, if you look around now, she said, some of these people are little bitty, and then most everybody's big. She said, that's the story I was told. It's kind of, I guess that goes back to be careful who you date or, marry. Don't marry your relatives. That's the lesson I get from that, I guess. I don't know. Stick people, I don't think we ever had any stories of stick people. There's a story of a tall man, but he was a protector. That's the story that I was told, that he was a protector, that the mothers and fathers say, when I got married, my mother put that tobacco down, my father built that fire, and they talked. And they talked in Indian to each other. My mother could talk in his language, and he could talk in her language, and they spoke. And my husband didn't understand it. But what they were doing was they was praying that this tall man would come and watch over me all through my life so that I wasn't abused or mistreated. So if he hit me or abused me in any way, then he wouldn't know what hit him, He'd be sitting there and looks like he'd know, be on the floor or whatever. That's the story I heard about a tall man. And it does happen. It does exist. I still call them for my children. Like when we go somewhere, I lay that tobacco down, and I call to watch out for my babies because they're all in the area. Never had one stolen, never had one hurt, whatever, they're always good. There are a lot of stories that are scary, but they're not really scary. The spook light, leave it alone. That's something between God and nature. Leave it alone. It's amazing to watch it, entertaining, but don't try to analyze it. Don't try to provoke it. Don't try to, lure it out or whatever. Leave it alone. If you see it, you see it. If you don't, fine. But don't go sit and get your refreshments and sit and wait for it, because you might not like what you see. There are stories of different people who've seen things that they didn't like what they seen. And some of them would talk about it and some wouldn't. So, but yeah, there are hundreds of stories. There's stories about like old Grandma Rabbit, Grandpa Bear, Grandma Bear, Grandma Frog, and food. There's a lesson to that, and learning to eat what's put before you, you know. That's why they hop around, because they said a long time ago that they went to visit an old lady bear. She didn't have nothing to feed him. She was real, but she wanted to feed him. So she took the bottom of her feet. Now this might sound unsanitary and it might sound gross to you, but in those days, I guess, you know, you want to feed your people, you feed them whatever you can with that. I guess that's the tenderest part on that bear was her foot. She offered to that. She made, she gave it to, made that soup for them, old lady frog and old lady bear, and they said, this is good. What is it? What is it? She said, barefoot soup. And she explained. And it was making all kinds of faces and everything. She said, you need to leave my house. I gave you the best I had, and it wasn't good enough. So you're not good enough for my house. And so they left, but when they left, they hopped. And they said, that's why bunny hops and that's why frog hops. That's their punishment for insulting that bear who gave everything. You don't insult them, and you eat what they give you and be grateful. Because there's some people who don't have anything but water. That's all you got, you offer the water. But she wanted to feed them. See, there's all these little stories that you can, they're lessons.
They might seem dark to some people, but they're lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Before you continue,
Yeah.
you dropped your glasses. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
make sure that's good. Hold on to those four. Don't want to get dangerous. When you,
Yeah, my glasses. Okay.
I just gave them to Callie
All right.
because they had dropped on the ground and I didn't want.
Well, I'm always throwing them down. That's why I look.
Do you need some water or something?
Um,
Something to drink?
Yeah, I would like some. But yeah, I said all day and tell you stories about everything. There's, like I said, each story has a lesson. It's not just a story made up. It has a story. There's a lesson to it. And a lot of people say, "Well, that couldn't happen." Yeah, it does. It's a lesson.
When you think back, when you think back, Quapaw specific, was there individuals that really made an impact on your life? People talk about, like, people will say Flossie or, Ardina Moore, or was there Jake Whitecrow? Like, was there individuals that really stood out to you that you looked up to?
Do I look up to?
That you looked up to. Hold on, we'll let you get your drink first. And
You're talking about all the elders that I looked up to are gone.
hold on.
You take a drink and then I'll put your water down for you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think of one elder that I might listen to. No. I think the closest one would be Cuggy, Supernal. But all the other elders, they were wise. They listened, they talked, and they knew what they were talking about. They experienced it. Like I used to listen to my Grandma Pearl Whitecrow and my Grandpa Leroy Watson and the different ones, they'd take time to sit and talk to you and tell you. They didn't just say, oh, we did this way, we do this that way. They taught you how to do that. These elders nowadays, and a lot of elders they call themselves elders. To me, they're just older people, older tribal members. To me, you have to earn the right to be called an elder. Well, if you want to give advice to people, you take your own advice. You know what you're talking about. You understand who you're talking to. There's so much that you need to take into consideration. I don't know of any of these elders, now they're calling themselves keepers of the wisdom or whatever, I don't know. To me, just because they're old now, they want to be called elders. That's fine. I still respect them. It's just that, no, there's no one that I would look up to now. All the ones that I did respect are gone.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I was referring to. Thinking back to when you were younger, was there any tribal member that stood out to you that you kind of aspired to what they were doing, or
A tribal member, my grandma Fanny Goodigo. She taught me to sew. She taught me, spent a lot of time with me. My grandpa Leroy Watson, he used to sing to me and talk to me about the church, our Native American church and stuff. Remember that. My grandma Supernaw. I used to get to go and spend, a couple of weeks with her, sometimes a summer, go and visit with her, stay with her. And we didn't do anything but just sit, We'd go down to my Uncle Ix. They just lived across the alley from each other, and we'd go down there and sit, and she'd visit with him because he was invalid. And they would talk. And she would tell him stories, and sometimes the kids would come in and out, but I was never allowed to go out and play, ever. Even at home, wherever I was at, my parents never allowed me to play. I just didn't know how to play. I didn't know how to learn how to play basketball or softball or anything like everybody else, run around. I had to sit and listen to these stories. And to me, they were interesting. I liked to listen. And when I wasn't listening at them or around, they'd give me books and things to color, and then they'd talk to me about it. That's the kind of elders I looked up to, the ones who took time with me and took time to teach me something and tell me stories. Grandma Fanny taught me to cook. Grandpa taught me to sing. My grandma told me all these other stories about, mostly she talked about things like doing right things the right way, questioning whether difference between right and wrong. She'd tell me those stories, say, what do you think? Right? And she was kind of hard to understand, because she spoke so soft, and she didn't really word things the way you could expect her to. But I loved her. That's probably the elder that I looked up to, and my mother. To me, my mama knew everything.
what do you think about Quapaw culture today?
What culture? I think it's gone. What we have left is what they can remember, and what this younger generation, and I commend this younger generation, that they're trying to bring back what they could remember or what they were taught. That's the culture we have now. But as far as I don't know how to explain it. To me, culture is everyday life. Our Quapaw culture should be everyday life. Now, some people, they want to come and Quapaw powwow. They're going to come and be Quapaw for a while and go back to their homes and whatever. Okay, I'm Indian. You have to live some of it. You have to, I don't know, interact with people, whatever. You have to practice. If you're going to learn it, practice it. Do it every day. It's just like our funerals. No funeral is the same. The steps to it, everything that which takes into the cooks, the grave diggers, the fire people. There's a set way that they used to do all of that. And I'm really pleased now that the younger ones are trying their best. They're setting a new form of culture for us. It's not exactly the same, but they're keeping the basic format of it consistent. And because of what they're doing, we're going to have some sort of culture to pass down to our children, where we've lost the basics of it. Like now, it just there's taboos, there's different things that you do and you don't do on different things. Cultural retention. We've got how many graves up here? How many cemeteries do we have? Those people that we talk about that are gone, we all came to their wake, they all came to their funeral, we all cried around and carried on. How did we treat them before that? How often did we go and see them? What did we do for them before they were gone, while they were here with us? What do we do for them now? How often do you take, like, they had a favorite food, they had whatever. How often do you make that food for them? Maybe you live far away and you can't get it to them, but you make that food and you eat it with them. They have a certain thing that they like to do. You do it for them, you do it with them. People don't do that anymore. They have what they call this spirit plate that they make for each one. Their last meal, it's not their last meal. Their last meal comes 3 years later on their fourth meal. That's their last meal. In between that time, not just once a year, you don't have this memorial for them just once a year. Every day. It's like now, I make fried potatoes. My brother liked fried potatoes. My mother liked fried potatoes. My dad, when I make them. I pray when I cook. My children pray when they cook. We talk to them that are gone on, and we talk to our children while we're praying. They may not be in the room, but we're talking and we're praying for that. To me, that's how you retain your culture. You live what you are taught every day. You know, just like little things, little small things like eating in the dark. They tell you not to eat in the dark because of bad spirits and things. They're hungry. They eat on you. So you have to wipe your face. Okay. I've got great grandbabies. 6, 7 years old, 3 years old. They come to eat with me before they leave my house. They're wiping their mouth off because they're going to go in the dark. Even though they're in my yard in that light till they get to their car, they still have been taught, don't eat in the dark. Clean your mouth. That's an everyday thing for them. When I take them in the dark, when we're traveling, we're going to go someplace we've never been before or we're cautious about, they take ash. Ash was once fire. Once it's fire, it'll always be there. To those spirits, to them, it's not ash. It's a fire. It's a flame. That's the meaning of those ash sticks in the graves, too. But my kids will just automatically do that. They'll ash themselves. They've got that light on. If they're going to go out in the dark and play or go out to get something from the car, they've got that light. That, to me, is part of our culture. Practice what you're taught every day. Now, if a small one can pick that up, why can't the rest of us? Why can't we practice? To me, we're all practicing being Quapaw.
Let's.
Hold on, I had to cough really bad.
Okay.
Talking about that real quick. How, solutions. What do we do to revitalize it moving forward? You are one of the, I look at you as one of our few
Okay,
elders.
babe, you have to scream at me.
I'm gonna come talk to you. Okay, I'll get out of the way. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I look at you as one of our elders who is full of knowledge. Knowledge is power. How do we move forward in teaching those who haven't been taught? Because a lot of our people haven't been taught our culture. So, what do we do to teach everybody? How do we get that information out there?
That's going to be a hard thing to do, babe. You've heard me in general council get up and tell our elders, shame on you. You should be teaching them. Instead of arguing here about money and this and whatever, what we do once a year, teaching them. Teach them. Okay, this past year I told them, I'm always telling you elders, you want to pass this down, teach them, give it to them, okay? Now, I've adopted the idea that the younger ones, if they're going to learn, they're going to have to learn on their own. Because those elders, they're too busy being elders to take time to teach you. The younger ones are passing on to me. My advice to all tribal members is look to the younger ones, share what you've got. And I like it when people come to visit me and we share our stories and we talk about this. To me, that's things that I've forgotten, but they bring up, it's sharing. Share your stories. Maybe they're going to say, oh, well, I wasn't taught how to do that. No one ever told me. Well, no one ever told you. Maybe they did and you didn't listen. I have high hopes for this, not my children, the next generation, the grandchildren. And let me tell you, I am so proud of all of them, that generation, because they're the ones who are saving our tribe. They're the ones who are working hard. They're the ones who show up for everything to try to help, no matter what it is, what the occasion is. They're all there at one time or another to help and to make sure that everything is done as best they can, as best they know how to do. And that's why I said they're bringing our culture back for us. Maybe our culture's never going to be the same as what it was. I mean, people just don't have the empathy for each other like they used to. We were taught, your neighbor's just as good as you are, no matter whether they're, what color they are, Indian or non-Indian. They're human. They breathe the same air. You treat them the same way. You know, that's what we need to do, is treat each other the same and share and listen and pay attention. You have a question, ask them. Don't just listen at them. And if you're wanting to listen at an elder, goes to a powwow once in a while, or gets out there and gourd dances, or puts a shawl on and dances once a year, fine. But ask. That's the only way we're going to bring anything, any of it back, or keep it. And participate. Don't just say, I want to learn, I want to learn. Get out there and learn. People, oh, I'll look silly. Well, so what? As long as you're having fun, as long as you're enjoying it, who cares? Because they're sitting there laughing at you. But do you see them getting up and doing it? Nope. Do you see them getting up offering? No. Right here. If you want it, you ask for it, you learn it, and you keep it, but you share it. If you don't, you keep it right here, it's going to be gone. You keep it up here, it's going to be gone. If you take it, we got a chance.
Good.
Okay, one more. One of the themes that we keep coming upon is that a lot of families were affected by boarding schools and, you know, save the man, kill the Indian. And a lot of our elders, who are elders now, were not taught. So that, and not all families were like that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of our families were, because a lot of families were like, it was beaten, they were beaten down. Their spirit was beaten, and they would practice it, but they wouldn't share it. They wouldn't tell why. And I feel like that has got a huge impact on our culture. So do you have anything that you could talk about on that, or like what you've seen in your family? I'm gonna get out of the way now.
Well, I went to boarding school. I went to Seneca Indian School, and then from there I went to Sequoia. There were some stories that were kind of scary, you know, but they never happened to me, and I never seen them happen to anyone that I knew. But there were stories, you know, of different ones being mistreated, students, by the teachers, by the dorm people. And it got to be where, let's see, I went there and we was like at the 5th, 6th grade at Seneca. So it was just a natural thing for the older kids to go and look out for the littler ones. Because, see, they had kids that weren't even in 1st grade yet. Some of them were still in diapers that they brought. They were just taking kids away in the families. We were put down there because my mother drank a lot, and my father he fallen from a ladder and broke both legs, so he was an invalid. He was bedridden for like 3 years. So they put us down there, and they only put us down there because they could come every day down to see us if they chose. But my mother just couldn't take care of us and devote to my father. And I know it tore him up to put us there, but we weren't forced in there. So I can't relate to those who were taken and put into boarding schools. When we went to Sequoia, I liked boarding school so much, and I made friends. So I wanted to go with them, so we went down there, you know. And at that time they had junior high school there too, so I went from the 7th to the 12th grade there. I don't, I didn't get a chance to hear, you know, any, see anything. I heard stories. My dad went to boarding school. He went to Chilocco and he went to Pawnee, and he used to tell stories about how they were treated and how they had to. I did. I didn't witness it, but I helped this little girl. And she wasn't a little girl. I was in the 5th grade, and this girl was 17 years old, and she was in the 4th grade. And she came from, I want to say Mississippi or Florida, I can't remember. She was from southern states. And she was speaking her language to her brother outside. And she had to eat soap. And it was awful. I remember seeing, because her mouth was swollen and was cracking and everything. That's the only instance that I ever seen of mistreatment. But like I said, the schools, boarding schools I went to weren't that way. I sent my kids to Jones because they were at an age where they thought that they could boss me around and they didn't have to listen to me, and I was facing jail because of their truancy. So my lesson to them is, you're going to go where you're going to get locked up and have to go to school every day. So I sent them to Jones. You know, they were down there 3 weeks, and I went down, and only because my daughter sent a letter. She had someone mail it and wanted me to come. So I went down there. And my youngest daughter had fallen and had a broken rib, cracked ribs. They didn't take her to the doctor because nothing that they could see was broken. They just knew that she was all bruised up. So they kept her at home, at the school, but they kept her in a locked room. And her brother and sister weren't allowed in there to see her. They would take her food, but they weren't allowed to see her at all. So my daughter didn't know what was going on, so she sent a letter, and I went down, and that's when I found out that's how they were treated. They didn't take them for medical care, all because I didn't have a medical card on file. I didn't have insurance. So we tried the same thing with my grandchildren. The tribe decided that they needed to go to boarding school. They were sending all kinds of kids from our tribe to different schools and stuff. Well, mine got sent to Oaks. And we went down to visit them one Sunday afternoon, and they went to go get the little boy at his dorm. And the door was locked. And an old lady, like me, couldn't hear. She was their dorm matron, and she'd been asleep. She put all the kids out to play and locked them out. But he was asleep whenever she put him out, so he didn't get sent out. She didn't know he was there, didn't hear him. She locked the doors and went to sleep. They had been out all day long. Hadn't been fed, because the dorm parent feeds them. She hadn't been fed. They were locked out. But she had put a thing of oatmeal on the stove to cook and then fell asleep. And the only reason why we got into that dorm is because smoke was billowing out all over the place, where she caught fire to the kitchen finally. My grandson was locked inside. So we brought them home from Oaks. Our tribal worker, I told him, I said, I'm going to have to live with you because I'm not sending them back down there. And if you don't want to live one with me, I'm not sending them back down there. They can live with you. My kids stayed with me. Our tribe is just as guilty of sending our kids off as other tribes. We put them at risk. You hear all these stories, Carlisle and all these other stories, these little ones that they're finding, you know. That could have happened to ours because we were letting the agency come and take them off. They were sending them off to these schools, and then they were sending the parents off on what they used to have, a program called relocation. They were sending them off to the big cities so they could learn a trade or whatever reason, you know. They were placing our children in these schools. So I said, our tribe is just as guilty as other tribes. We can't say, oh my God, you know, we did it too. We let our agent and we let the powers that be and our leaders do it. That's about the year that our business committee did the governing resolution, and that was happening about that time. They resolved to do something.
We've heard a lot of people talk about the procedure to enter the arena. Can you tell us about what you have to do to enter the arena properly?
I'm sorry, man.
We've heard a few people talk about, you know, the way to enter the arena. Can you tell us, you know, the procedure to enter the arena? What do you have to do to enter that arena? What's the proper way to enter the arena?
To enter what?
The arena.
The arena? Well, anybody can go in the arena. It's a social dance. Unless it's a ceremonial, anybody can go in that arena. A ceremonial means only certain ones who can go in and they dance, spectators sit out on the side. But as far as Quapaw in our arena, anyone can go out and dance. It's just that if you're going to follow tradition and the culture, when you put your child out or you go out, you know, and you're going to dress in your native outfit, dance area, you pay for that honor, you pay that drum. You pay that drum for everything because that's that heartbeat. Without that drum, you don't dance. You pay that, they say the spirits that have gone on, you know, you pay for the right to go in there and wear your own regalia. Now, they've got so-and-so's putting their child out in the arena and they do this and do that, you know. Yeah, they do. They put them out, and then there's only certain people who can do that, you know. There were, but now it's just, they have respect for certain so-and-so, and so they say, will you roach my child? Would you plume my child? You know, or will you plume me or whatever? Before, it was only someone who had that right to do it. I mean, that's what I always thought, you know, it had to be either an elder that was, you know, back then they were elders and true elders. Had to be an elder to put it on them, or a veteran that put them on them. But the person who was paying for them to go in there was there with them, you know. But now it's Yeah, you have to pay for the right to wear your outfit into the arena, but only your own tribal outfit. Now everybody goes in, pays to go into the arena and makes a big show, but they're not wearing their own tribal outfit. So, but anybody can go into the arena and dance. I mean, look, we invite the crowd to come and dance with us. If this was a ceremonial, we wouldn't do that. We have tribal members who have friends who are non-native or natives from other tribes. They come in, they dance with them. That is just a big celebration of life, I guess you could call it. So with our arena, no, there's no set way, except that if you're going to follow your own tradition and dress them in those, yeah, it's just like going to the drum. You don't go to that drum until that singer says you can sit down, but now they've got everybody out there singing. Not singing, they go out there and they go out there for money. You got 20 singers sitting around the drum, 20 guys sitting around the drum. You got 5 down here, it's usually the head singer and who he brings with him. They're the singing, and all these rest are just sitting there. And if you listen at the drum, and they're getting off beat and whatever, that's not a learning place. You learn before you go out there and try to sing it. And if that head singer points his drumstick at you, you better be able to start a song. And if he tells you start a round dance song, you better start a round dance song. If he tells you start a war dance song, you better start a war dance song. He says you start scalp dance, you start this or whatever type of song. You better be able to sing that, do that. Or don't go out there. That's not a learning place. You want your child out there, or you want to go out there, you learn before you go out there. Everybody says, let them dance, let them dance. Yeah, that's fine. Let them dance, let them enjoy themselves. The ladies, they don't go out there until they've been invited. The head singer's wife invites them, or he invites them. But the women don't go out there and just sit because they want to sit. They pay for that right. I come from a family who was born into that, so we never had to pay to go to the drum. But we've got women who just go out there because they like to sing. But you have to have that right to sing. Everything's in that arena. It's just go and enjoy, I guess, but I do. I look around and see things that are going around me, but I'm not out there for that. I'm out here for this, what it does for me here. And they're out there, everybody's doing their own thing. I may like it and I may not like it, but it's not up to me. Each person is responsible for this, their own. So yeah, this arena it's an open arena, and I think everybody's welcome there.
Coach, you have anything else?
I'm just gonna see. I'll let you speak up. Elaborate on entering or exiting the arena, or different types of dresses. Like, you know what I mean? Traditional to Quapaw dances or dresses, whether it's buckskin, cloth, straight dance.
Can you tell us about the different types of Quapaw tradition? There's the Quapaw traditional dress, buckskin.
The men's straight.
The men's straight.
Quapaw what?
The dance that belongs to
Quapaw
the
dance?
Quapaw. The styles.
The styles of clothing that.
Oh, style of clothing?
What's traditional to the Quapaws?
Almost stepping a lot of toes on that one.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
Our ladies' style is not the same as the way I was raised to wear, you know, and my clothes, Grandma Fanny Richards always made my outfits, my Quapaw clothes for me. So if that old lady didn't know what she was doing, then I don't know what I'm doing, because I remember what she put on me. But I've had, even to my cousin, who owned a store and made outfits, Quapaw clothes. It's got to have this moon in the back. It's got to have this and have that. No, that's a different tribe. Okay, it's got to look like this. It's got to look like, no. There are 2 girls in our tribe, except the ones I made for you and sister, but there are 2 young women. They're not really young women. They could be called elders too. But they wear true Quapaw clothes. And that's those bowhead girls. Liz Tiger and Karen. Their clothes are made. That's a true Quapaw outfit. If you want to take pictures of those, that's ladies you go to. All the rest of these styles with the gathers and this and that, that's from a different tribe. Those are Shawnee clothes, and those are Delaware clothes. That moon comes from the Delaware. That gather comes from the Shawnees. We didn't, ours was a flat collar with a huge ruffle around it, and our men, did you see Bill Griffin last year?
Yeah.
Doing?
Yeah.
True Quapaw. He wasn't dressed, Comanche's dressed that way too, but that's the way Quapaws dress. Sometimes they wore a shirt, sometimes they wore a vest, depending on, you know, I guess maybe the weather or what. But that's, well, I can remember as a child seeing Quapaws. That was true Quapaw. They had that shawl around them, or they had that blanket. Now you see them, the Quapaws come out. You can't tell them from the Osage. You can't tell them from the Oto. It's just a straight dancer. You know, you can't tell. But our Quapaws, a long time ago, yeah, some of them wore the broadcloth leggings, but they still had that shawl. You don't find it. I think Everett Bandy I've seen wear that shawl. But even there, it's gone.
Did you have any more questions? I think she covered.
I think she covered the 2 hot topics of
Even my own outfit isn't true Quapaw, because you know why? I'm lazy and I made a detachable collar. And I could put it on and make it a Quapaw outfit and add an apron. Or I can take the apron off, take the collar off, and I have an Oto outfit.
I think that's genius.
So my outfit isn't true. It's not all together like it's supposed to. So see, there I go. I'm pointing fingers, saying you need to do this. I don't do it.
Well, I think you covered like all the topics. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Is there anything else you would like to
Is
say?
there anything else that you think that you need to share?
The only thing I can say is I worry for the Quapaws. I pray for us, When my father passed away, my mother gave us back to his people. That's what that's how you put it, She said, I want you to follow your father's ways. I've taught you my ways, and he's been up here with me all these years in my country, following my ways. He's gone now, so I want you to follow his ways in his honor. So therefore, my ways and Quapaw is what I've got for my mother, but the majority of it is my father made her teach me. And like I said, I never knew how to play. I don't know what it is to get out and run. And I hear all these kids, oh, we used to run up and down the hill, we used to do that. Okay, there wasn't no hill over there where I was when I was little, I didn't get to go out and run around and go to the snow cone stand, and they used to have all around the arena, they had like pony rides and this, and I didn't get to. I had to sit there at the powwows and stuff at the native churches. I had to go in. I went in, I was 2 years old. I grew up in that church. Would go to gatherings, hand games and stuff. I sat with my grandma Fanny, my grandma Mary, and my grandma Emma Tohi, and my grandma Bess, and grandma Supernaw, and my mama sat behind them. And when those old ladies wanted coffee or whatever, it was my mama who got up and waited on them. But I learned to do that too. But I didn't get to go out and run around, and you see all the kids playing around outside the arena or this and that. I didn't get to do that. Now, my brother, he could roll all over, go out in the arena and roll around, and nobody ever said or done anything to him. My sister, she didn't have to dance if she didn't want to, but she loved to dance, so she danced. She didn't have to sing if she didn't want to. She loved to sing. Me, I'd sit and watch and listen.
That's you.
I just would like to see the people who call themselves elders and the people who say they want to learn and they want to be Quapaw, pay attention and really, truly share with each other and try. Like, there's protocol and stuff for setting meals, setting the table. There's a protocol for going into that kitchen. Not just everybody can go in that kitchen. There's a protocol before you, even down to the way you cut the meat and when it's cut and how it's cut. That tobacco, there's a protocol, or who cuts that tobacco. There's a protocol who pours that water for the dinners, the meals. Now anybody and everybody does it. We've lost it. There's a protocol for, like say, if someone passes and leaves us, the first thing you do is the uncle or the elder member, father, and if there's not, then that mother or grandmother, they go and have someone start that fire, and then from then on, then a set protocol follows. That's not anymore. The mother appoints the cook. That cook asks her helpers, that one who is ask them to start the fire. They set who they want to put them away, and it's the one who starts the fire who puts them away. When you start that fire, you do not leave it. You stay there with it. When you go in that kitchen, you stay in that kitchen, or you stay near it. From the time I was little, I remember seeing women. The last ones I saw was Maud and Cecilia make pallets, never leave their kitchen. I remember different places, like your grandparents up here on the hill, they had dinners up there. The cooks, they slept on pallets around the fire. They never left their fire. When you're going to put somebody away, you don't just come out and this and that and then come back and do the graveside rites. You stay with that body. You don't leave them ever. Maybe you might get up and sit back and take a nap or whatever, but you stay. If you take that responsibility and you have that respect, you stay. That don't happen anymore. Now they just come and go. They burn cedar for every little thing you think of. Cedar is a purification. We burn cedar before we bring them in. Now we bring them in, burn it. Everybody, they burn cedar for everything. That's good though. You're asking for blessings and you're purifying yourself. But there's a set way to do everything. There was a set way. We've lost it. And my main wish is for someday all of us to get together and what they say, break bread. Everybody bring a side dish or come and just sit, have coffee and Kool-Aid or whatever, and just sit and visit. Everybody sit around. You got pictures and stuff? Bring them. Bring and talk. Reminisce about everything, young and old. And I'd like to see young ones sit in there and listen. I'd like to hear the old ones come. Because like I said, there's things I can't remember. I have to sit and think about it, or the kids will bring it back, talk to me about it, remind me. But if we're gonna hold on to anything, we need to share it, because somebody's gonna remember something that nobody else did, or somebody else. Together, we can build something. That's how we do it. Unless we come together and really want to. And that's my aim, is just to have a community dinner, not just one time a year, during the week, during the weekend. Maybe you can make it, maybe you can't. But everybody comes and say, okay, they're going to go sing, we're going to eat. And maybe we should do that when they were younger. I mean, I can remember out here at Grandpa Beaver's, Uncle Pokey would fly over in his plane on his lunch hour, throw a drumstick out, and it'd land out there and said, okay, they're gonna sing tonight. They're gonna play hand game or whatever. And we'd show up out there, maybe at Grandpa Alex, or maybe over here, or up there at your grandparents, or across the road. They'd have a little word of mouth, Everybody show up. You'd be surprised. Everybody, how did they all know? But it just so and so. Oh, we're gonna sing tonight. Where? Okay. Get together, and some women come in, bring in pies, cakes, their supper that they'd planned. And all the kids get to go play. Here's old Francie got to sit and watch, but I can remember them all getting together and they'd play hand game, or they'd just visit. Sometimes they'd bring out the drum and sing. You know, I'm not asking, not wishing for all of that, because nobody will want to do that, but I would like to, everybody just sit and share your stories, your pictures, your memories of what you got. Because somewhere, somebody taught somebody something. There's something somewhere, you know. Your mom's probably got a lot of stories of, you know, because, you know, Grandma Jo, she was a good cook, and she was always in there with them, you know, different ones, you know. We got to come together. We got to share. If we don't stick together, then I don't know. To me, we're all one big family, adopted and unadopted. If they're adopted and they want to call themselves Quapaw, they better get out here and learn how to be Quapaw. Not just what they can get out of it and their benefits. Come and be Quapaw. Come and learn it. Because, you know, like I said, if this next generation now that's trying, if nobody pays attention to them, I swear it's all going to be gone. Let's look at these little ones. We've got all our little ones out there. I heard a story about they're wanting to start up a little program of kids having little outfits, little whatever somebody wants to make for them, you know, shawls or something, to dance shirt or something, so they can get out and learn to dance. That's whoever had that idea. I like it. I commend them for it because they're trying to pass it down. If people don't have ideas or goals like that, we're going to pass it down.